Hey guys, John here. Go on ahead, do me a favor. Go on ahead, check us out on Spotify, Good Pods, and of course on Apple Podcasts as well. Rate individual episodes. Tell us what you think about each individual episode on Good Pods. It's basically social media for us who love listening to podcasts. Or if you're a podcaster yourself, go on ahead, head over to Good Pods. And without further ado, we're going to get on with our Moon Knight episode 3 review, the friendly type review. So I hope that you guys relax, sit back, and enjoy our show. All right. And I just want to say welcome back, Ryan. I know that we had you on last week and everything. I just want to say welcome back.
Oh, thanks, John. I mean, look, I was more than welcome to ever come back if you need it, if just for anything, honestly. And after this episode of Moon Knight, when you reached out to me again, I go, well, you reached out to me before I saw the episode, and I'm glad I accepted it because
there's just so much stuff to talk about with this episode, to be honest with you. And if anybody's wondering, Rossi's out sick. Send her your love and everything through the comments section and everything. And just tell her that she hopes she gets feeling better. She has the flu, unfortunately. She can't make it tonight. And Alex also had some other stuff that he had to take care of as well. But like I said, we have Ryan here. We have Charlie here. And let's just go on ahead. We're going to go into give this thing a little bit of context. So the friendly type is the name of the episode, and as Harrow and his followers discover Ammit's tomb, Spectre and Grant both experience unusual blackouts while trafficking a lead to Harrow's location in Cairo. After failing to gain information from Harrow's followers, Khonshu calls a council between his fellow Egyptian gods and their avatars to warn them of Harrow's plans. So that's where the small synopsis that I'm going to give it, because we're going to talk about the rest of it. So here's the thing. It opens up, and I love how it opens up to where now you actually see Layla instead of seeing Steven, or Marc this go around, which is something that I do appreciate. Now you actually have context on how Layla sees everything, on how things are going, and she's complaining about how Marc is to this person that's actually supposed to be one of her father's friends from back in the day, and she's actually making a passport for her to go over to Cairo to help Marc, even though Marc is trying to be like a one-man army hero and trying to tell her, no, I do not need any help. And of course, she knows that if he goes at it alone, he's going to end up getting himself killed. And of course, we wind up seeing that chase sequence on the roof later on. So what do you guys think of the opening sequence for this episode?
You go ahead first, Ryan.
Yeah, I was trying to decide which one I want to talk about first, but honestly, the Layla's intro is honestly, I like it. I kind of like it better because it gives me this great sense of Layla, how she holds herself as a person. Like I loved her talking, like really spilling out her guts to a confidant, while at the same time, doing the whole like taking photo for everything like business as usual. And I love that her confidant, as she's just taking the photos, making this fake ID, she's not like that kind of. It's not like that trope where you have the like if I don't know, like a criminal or a spy expert or someone going underground is making this stuff and they're just talking, and then you got that person just being silent and just go, look at camera. No, I like that this small window gave at least to me a lot of background and already an established relationship between the two of them, how even keel they are with each other. And I even like how it shows in Layla's motivations, where we meet her in the previous episode. She's pretty much right to be mad at Marc, when she meets Steven. And of course, later on, and then you see here, she goes, I'm going to be mad at him, but it doesn't change the fact. It doesn't change what she saw with Arthur Harrow and his group. So she's willing to risk exposure in her old home within Egypt in order to help Marc.
And also, too, here's another thing, too, that I like about her character is the fact that, she winds up stealing stuff off the black market that's actually supposed to be Egyptian artifacts. And she might steal some for herself just to pay the rent, pay the bills. But other than that, though, her intentions are good when it comes down to actually taking stuff that doesn't belong to anybody and putting it back in Egypt, basically back to her heritage and everything. And that's something I do appreciate about it. As a matter of fact, Killmonger got mad at the museum in Captain America Civil War because of the fact that it was artifacts that didn't even belong to anybody. It belonged to his culture, his people. So that was something that I actually thought of whenever I first saw that whole entire thing play out. Was I thought of Killmonger looking into the museum and how he was just ticked off at how the museum, what makes you have the right to actually have this? So that's actually kind of like Layla's philosophy of what makes you think that you have the right to actually have my heritage, my stuff, my culture in your museum against without our permission. So that's something that I really thought of. So
being this is my first time on this show, I have no idea what I'm watching. I'm 3 episodes in out of a 6-episode show. I still have no clue what I'm watching. I'm not vibing with it in a sense. Like, sure, there's some cool action sequences. I mean, I liked the opening chase of Marc. It kind of reminded me of like him running, like Jason Bourne in the Bourne Ultimatum, him running on the rooftops to get that. I thought that kind of remembered that. The fight scene in that one was all right. I mean, it's no shaky cams. That's anything that's not shaky cams a plus. I mean, I love that the big fight sequence in Egypt when they're like when the Arthur's goons showed up and it's like Moon Knight the first chase sequence was cool when you see him do a superhero landing. So I just kept thinking of Deadpool was like superhero landing. It's really bad for your knees. And then him flying that cape though, that was a cool design of the cape when he flies and the cape was the form of the moon, which I thought was pretty cool. And then him using his cape as a vest and he flings the cape and the bullets go flying from his cape to the guys that shot the bullet. Like I thought that some of that stuff was pretty cool. Mm-hmm. But overall, it's just like for a Marvel movie, it's too much thinking, and I'm not vibe. I don't really like for a Marvel movie when I have to think. Sure, like when I don't have to keep remembering everything I've seen. It's like every single thing you got to watch again. And I'm like, for a Marvel movie, I just want to be entertained and maybe go back and have rewatchability to go back and actually have fun with it. I think if I went back and rewatched this, I'd probably be it's like, why am I watching this again? I'm suffering. And I'm like, I don't like again, it's just too much. And then the temple of people and then say, oh, we're not supposed to interact or ruin the human interaction. I'm like, were these people Eternals or something? Because it's probably so much the Eternals, and I hated that movie. I don't know. It was just so much. And now you keep thinking Marc. I'm like, oh my God. Now his name is like the character from The Room. And him chatting with Layla the whole time is like, oh, hi, Marc. How's your sex life? Like, I mean, you can say that now. But I don't know. It's just a lot. And this is a 6-episode show, and I'm halfway in, and I still have no idea what I'm watching. And I'm not like I don't know if it's going to improve the next 3 episodes. I think there's just so much that you got to cram in. I mean, maybe 6 episodes might be too small. I don't know. This is just coming from me. If you guys love it, that's great. It's just it shows just might not be working for me compared to the other Marvel shows, and that's fine. Again, this is new to me, so.
Right, I understand, man. Like I said before, I mean, I think that if you. Of course, anybody also too that's watching, go back and watch our first 2 episode reviews. That might actually help you out though too, because I actually post pictures and context with everything that we actually talk about, which might actually help out. And also too, I also do deep dives, even though I didn't know much about Moon Knight or anything like that myself. So I did a deep dive into him and stuff like that as far as the character goes. But another thing that I want to bring up is this, and I thought this was very interesting though too. Was okay when we see that whole entire fight being played out. That was actually one of the guys from Taken with Liam Neeson. One of the guys on the roof was actually an extra that was actually in that fight scene on the yacht, which I didn't even know up until I looked up his credits. But so I thought that was really interesting. But I do like the stunt work on the rooftops. I thought that was really good. And of course, now I like how Steven and Marc now know each other to the point where it's like, okay, let me have my body back. Let me switch back to myself. Let me have control of myself versus them just cutting away into another scene or something like that. And now they actually know each other. They actually know who they are. And now they are actually trying to give each other permission to use each other's bodies, which I thought was a pretty cool aspect to actually have now, because as an audience member that didn't know anything about it for myself or anything like that going in the first 2 episodes, and then all of a sudden it just jumps into the split personality part where he just happens to wake up and you don't know what's going on. Now I feel like as an audience member, now they're actually saying, hey, look, reintroduce you to these 2 characters now. These are who they are. And now they're basically talking to us. So now I'm going to get him to introduce, going ahead and put basically switch bodies and everything too. But also too, I like the cab driver scene. Basically, he winds up in the taxi cab, and then you wind up seeing the 2 guys that he was getting into a fight with, and goes, I just want to talk. That's all I want to do. I just want to talk.
Yeah.
And see what's going on. And I thought that was actually a funny comedic thing that they did for that. But this show is really deep when you look at it in its full context, because then you see Arthur, who is also in Cairo, and he's using the scarab to find the tomb for Eric. And I definitely like how he thinks that he has the right motives in check, because he thinks that he's doing something good, which makes him even that more dangerous.
Yes,
but also too, he's also manipulating people, even the gods themselves, and stuff like that too, to his own advantage, that we actually see later on in the show. But man, they gave us so much context with this episode.
Yeah, I think it's a mix. To draw on everything, Charlie, you do have a point there. Like when it comes with this show, look, while I am enjoying some of the disconnected and disjointed part of it, a part of me does feel that the 6th episode thing with Moon Knight might be a blessing and a curse, though. Like, it's allowing us to just get into the show and not be dumped with over description, over too much world building, instead of focusing the action. And I will say, though, that this episode, I did like how it is moving things forward. I like in the first one, it was just the first episode, it was just, we're introduced to Steven, here's his life, now he's thrown into it. Like that, it gave us that sense that we're going to be in the pilot seat with Steven in this journey. Second episode, it was keeping that same narrative, though. We're in the pilot seat with Steven, but then it does do this great switch. I like how we're with Marc this time, so we can understand more about him, or at least see what he's trying to do in Egypt. And I like in that opening chase, it validates everything that Layla said, that he's going to get himself killed. He's going to get caught. He's going to get in trouble. And you do see that with that opening chase. And then when he's fighting those guys, that back and forth between him and Steven, because it does open a great little, I won't say plot, well, actually a plot thread and a funny nugget too, because in the first episode when Steven was in, I forgot the country, but when he was experiencing blackouts and he wakes up and he's got blood all over him, I always thought it was Marc doing that. And then Marc is experiencing these blackouts too. And I like how, and it's funny, his first response was, what did you do, Steve? Well, when he was in the cab, I'm like, he knew it was Steven. But then the second time that happened, he's at a cliff, he just killed 2 men, and he's like, what did you do, Steven? Steven's like, that was not me. And it threw up so many ideas in my mind. I'm like, is this Khonshu taking over the body when they can't get in control of each other? Or there is another alter who's been quiet while Steven and Marc have had most of their time in the body. And he only shows up as kind of like a fight or flight response.
You see, I was thinking the same thing too, though, to be honest with you. That's actually a good thing to go on with Khonshu, though. Maybe he's taking things a little too far with the violent side of stuff where he's not getting the information. But remember, he also told Marc, he said, get the kid, hang him over the cliff. You're not going to kill him or anything. He's going to tell you what you need. So that tells me right there he wasn't going to try and kill them or anything like that, because he needed the information. So my theory is this, that there is a third personality that neither Marc knows about or Steven knows about. because in the comics there's actually he does have 3 personalities, what makes it comic book accurate if they do that. And also too, if you remember whenever Steven's about to go on that date that he forgot about, there's 3 mirrors looking in.
That's right. Yeah.
So I'm thinking that there is a 3rd personality that nobody knows about because of the fact that they use the 3 mirror imaging. Then again, I might be just being a Charlie Day conspiracist, but
no, you are right there, because when that girl meets him in the museum, and he's wondering, and Steven's wondering how he got the date. Of course, most of us thought maybe Marc was doing it, but seeing how Marc, he is so solely dedicated to the mission, working with Khonshu, it's playing more and more into the theory that there is a 3rd personality that Marc is not aware of. He was only aware of Steven, so it seems to me this 3rd personality is someone who's able to not only take control of the body, but do it to where Marc, Khonshu, and Steven are not aware. It reminds me of the movie Split, if you guys are familiar with that.
Mm-hmm.
The M. Night Shyamalan film.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's 23 personalities, and I'll just drum this all up. The whole thing I got from Split was, in the film, there was one personality, Barry, who was in control of the light that allowed all the personalities to take control. But what was unknown to him was then the character Hedwig, the 9-year-old. Apparently, he also had control of the light and was able to take control of it more than any of the other personalities were willing to do that. I'm thinking this 3rd personality is someone, not just a dark personality, but I think someone that's a personality that's been with Marc since way before he met with Khonshu, who's so familiar with the in and outs of his mind that he can go through the dark corners or the inner workings of his brain to take control of the light and do what's necessary. That's why I think and I'm jumping ahead here, when we get to that moment when Arthur tells Layla, "You want to know what happened to your father? Ask Marc." I think it's going to be that personality is going to be the one responsible for whatever happened to Layla's father, and probably could have set this whole chain of events.
My question is this, though, man. Like, I understand where you're coming from with that, but also too, if he doesn't know, if Marc doesn't know what's going on, if that 3rd personality is actually taking place, then how would he know? Because remember when he winds up telling her, "No, don't worry about that. That's just something Arthur winds up telling everybody or whatever, trying to misguide you." That makes me think that he might have known about. It's hard to know if he knew about it or not, if he remembered, unless he woke up and he happened to see her father's dead body, and he's just ashamed of it because of the guilt and shame he carried with it, even though that is not him that did it. So that could be another possibility.
Yeah. I mean, there's really a lot to go from here. I just feel that this whole thing of the 3rd personality, a part of me just wants us to meet this personality already and not try to build to this as some type of big reveal or so, because that's what I'm getting over this path that we're on with the show. Now that Khonshu has been removed from his body, I don't know. Maybe next episode we'll be introduced to that 3rd altar. I mean,
I'm thinking maybe episode 4 will be or episode 5 will be introduced to him, and then 6 will be the wrap up, to where maybe we might get Shadow Knight. But we'll talk about that in a minute too.
Probably feels like that's why we need maybe 7 episodes, maybe not just 6.
I can agree to that, just depending on how they wrap it up, though, before I make that call. But okay, so Cairo, here's the thing. I'm thinking everybody's thinking this though too. Remember whenever him and Layla, where Layla meets him over at the market, and everybody's thinking that's not Marc. Everybody's thinking that's the 3rd personality because of the fact he's wearing a baseball cap like he's Joe Goldberg from You. But here's the thing.
Yeah.
I'm not going off of that theory at all, because he acknowledged who Layla was. So therefore that's Marc. But I loved how the director did a good job of representing what Cairo, Egypt is. Because I actually felt like I was in Egypt, to be honest. Because in Wonder Woman 1984, he even called out Patty Jenkins for not giving it the proper adaptation of Cairo or anything either. And I love the colors. This makes me want to visit Egypt. The way that this is actually captured. And I love it. I love the atmospheric of it and everything. But I like how they're on this boat and the colors is purple, which also represents the multiverse in a sense, which also represents Arthur's little cane that he has. And like I said, I could be going off the deep end a little bit about it, but there's also so much shades of purple that it makes me think of certain things. But I like on that boat ride where him and Layla are talking. And, and talking about their problems, bringing it out in the open for them to talk about. I really like that. It brings everything full circle for them in a sense to where, she still loves him. She still cares about him and he still cares about her. But first he has to do this mission before he can even do anything else.
Yeah. It shows war. It shows there's a moment that Layla's not too distracted that she wants at least some explanation or at least, not closure, but just more of something to where she can at least know that they're on the same page.
Exactly. And then what about you, Charlie? I know I've been talking a little bit more or whatever, but I mean, do you have anything else to say about?
Not like, again, this is all just the blur. Again, that purple, okay. It was at least a better looking purple than that third episode of Loki that looked like Barney took a piss on the screen. Like, yeah, I would say that's a better purple. Again, I'm not even thinking about like my own thing for all these Marvel shows is how's this gonna what is the current theme of Phase 4? I don't even think any of us know what is Phase 4 in the MCU. Like, what's the big picture? What's the end game here? How is this all going to lead into the next show, Marvel movie, whatever? Again, I know the purple that I wasn't picking up on that about the whole. It could be multiverse. It could be that this could be. Could be another dream in a sense. It could be like something. Again, I don't know. Again, this is too much deep dive for me for a Marvel show. But again, the Layla character's all right. I'm really kind of annoyed with the split personality thing, the back and forth stuff. Like, I don't know. I like Oscar Isaac is really good in this. I'm just gonna say that. I just don't really like the characters as much. Marc's kind of a douche and a dick. Steven's kind of a pansy. I'll just say that, or he's kind of weak or whatever, and that's fine. I think it's just the two of them, and then seeing when he realized like, oh my god, I killed somebody. It's just, I don't know, it just doesn't flow for me. Like the split personalities. Again, this is new too because we haven't seen anything like this in the MCU. I think it's just the two different. Marc is all about fight, kill, whatever, and then Steven's kind of like the thought. I guess it works. They're a pair. I guess let me rephrase that. Marc's not a fighter. Steven's not a fighter. But I guess his constant complaining though is kind of annoying a little bit. But again, I don't know. This is just so much. Just to wrap your head around. It's just so much for me, and it's just like again I like it something that's clear cut, like boom, 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 with some stuff here and there. I think this is just so much thinking. It's hard to enjoy a show when you just got to think all the time.
It's a valid point. It is a valid criticism to bring towards it because some people who are just checking out Moon Knight for the first time are gonna be thrown off, especially when I will say, and as someone who has been into the MCU since the start, I can understand if you're wanting to look for any Easter eggs or any plot threads that's going to reference some of the other shows or at least the other films or the on how the marketing constantly tries to set up Moon Knight as the next start of the next phase. And personally, for me, as someone that's been through all that stuff with Phase 2 and 3, I'm okay that this show is its own thing. And and it is confusing. I will understand that. I will be honest. Your criticisms towards like Steven always complaining, I had the same criticism on that in last week's episode, how Steven was so focused on just trying to be in the body instead of be aware of the situation around him, which is why in this episode, I like that there was a bit of course correction here, or at least Steven realizing that stop trying to fight Marc all the time. Because in the first time we got that when he takes over, gets in the cab, just wants to leave, Then he tries to do it again when they're trying to, go through those graph papers, to go through the wrappings to find the tune. And then Marc, and I like how Marc just goes, look, I don't know I can't remember word for word, but all Marc says to Steven, he's like, if you don't want to do this, he will leave. And he's finding a way to push Steven's buttons to keep him focused.
Mm-hmm.
I even like when Steven does take control during the fight, the second fight. He wants everything to calm down, but it's not until he gets stabbed, impaled twice. He goes, "Yeah, I'm not doing this." That kind of worked I liked how it worked toward the advantage of the story and character. Because honestly, if Steven was constantly complaining, that would have been my biggest negative as well, Charlie. I would have been like, Steven, shut up. There's something bigger happening right here. That's why I was okay that Marc was mostly in the wheel. He was mostly the one behind the wheel.
Yeah.
And but I will admit though, that scene with the tribunal, I was hoping he would have more to speak up for, because it's clear that tribunal was there just as a narrative plot. It was just there to introduce the gods and show us just how little they are involved.
Yeah.
And also shows how easily they can be manipulated by Arthur though too.
Yeah.
Because even the gods can be manipulated.
I will say with Arthur though, rewatching that, at first I'm like, yeah, he's manipulating, but then at the same time, it reminded me of the story of Egyptian mythology that when you go to the underworld, your heart is weighed on scales to determine the measure of guilt. And I can't remember, but there was this one mythology story of there are ways where a person can still work around their guilt being weighed, because other than there's the scale that weighs your heart, there's also there's also a jury of 12 souls there, where you can still find your way to not admit your guilt, but still take responsibility for your actions, as if you're still it's not a way of lying, but manipulating or working a way around the details. And that's what Arthur was kind of doing. He comes in, first thing he does, he plays on the history that Khonshu has with the gods, avoiding the subject. Then when he realizes that the gods are more focused towards Khonshu, he brings in his past experience as his avatar, and then brings in, unfortunately, what tied in so well from the last episode, Marc and Steven's inner struggle amongst each other. He used that once again on Khonshu, although I did like that part. I do like that when the gods want to talk to Khonshu, and I forgot the name of the female who's the avatar, but she says
that's I think that's Hathor, I believe.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, but I do like that nugget when she says, "Don't fight, don't struggle against it. It's gonna be overwhelming." And then when the gods start talking, I like how Oscar, he plays it to where Khonshu he's being pulled out of him when he speaks, and then by the time he gets control back, it's more like, what? It reminded me of the movie Upgrade, where Logan Marshall you see his body moving, but you can tell in his face, I'm not doing anything. So that's why I like with Oscar here in this scene. We're seeing through Marc, in his mind, I can almost hear him go, "What the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck?"
I can see that though too. And also too, when we wind up seeing that scene being played out when Arthur shows up to get the clue, this reminds me of National Treasure. Who can get to the place before Arthur and everything. So it has a little bit of a National Treasure kind of vibe to it.
Yeah.
And so I like how Marc does not understand Egyptian mythology, and Layla's looking at him. She's like, look, you need to go on ahead and let Steven take over for a minute, because he actually knows what he's talking about. So you need that levelness of Steven at the right time to say, hey, look, I don't know everything about Egyptian mythologies. You have your you have your smart points on that, your strong points on that, but I have my strong points on fighting, being mercenary, and everything else. So I'll let you be the brainiac when you need to be the brainiac, and then whenever you need me to be the tough guy, I'll step in and be the tough guy if you need me to be the tough guy. Yeah. But I like how Steven's able to just geek out over it.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, what you want to do is you want to go ahead, fold the paper in half like this. And then after that, it should form a statue. And then next thing you know, here comes Arthur being a C blocker. And
Before Arthur,
so,
it was the goon of the guy who had the sarcophagus, which the late Gaspard Julio. Yeah,
yeah.
and then Arthur Harrow comes in as the C blocker, just throwing more chaos, stirring up the pot even more.
Right. And he goes, I can give you unlimited power if you. And he goes, let me show you. And he winds up destroying this everything that he was trying to protect, or what Layla was trying to protect by doing that. He destroys the sarcophagus, which is everything that that person was trying to protect is now gone.
Yeah.
So you're not even mad at Arthur for destroying that. So you're going to go with him because he can give you power. So that just goes to show you how strong Arthur is when it comes down to manipulating people. Not only manipulating people, but fooling them with greed, power, and everything else that he can promise them just to get what he wants. And then I also like too, whenever finally, after all that happens, like Charlie mentioned with the action sequences, I thought that was really good. That reminded me of the Captain America Winter Soldier kind of vibe to it. I thought this fight sequence was a lot better than the rooftop sequence. To me, it felt a little bit more like Aladdin to me with the rooftop sequence in a sense, because of the fact that it was just a little too cartoony for me in a sense. But with this one, it felt really great to have those action sequences there for what they were set for. And of course, whenever you wind up having Mr. Moon come over there, and he's, like you mentioned, Ryan, when he comes in and turns into him, he goes, okay, I can't do what Marc does. So I'm going to have to go back to going into my own little hole right now, because I'm not strong enough to do what Marc is doing. So It's all about accountability and thinking before acting now. Because before it was like, oh, you took my body. I want my body back. And now, as soon as he gets into a fight, he realizes, oh, crap. I'm not as strong as I thought I was. I don't need to be fighting because I don't know crap about fighting. So I'm going to let Marc take this one. And that's what he does. And I like how he acknowledges that now in this third episode. And then, of course, the special effects with the cape and everything else was really good. Then, of course, my favorite sequence, though, with the action sequence is whenever they actually stick him with the sticks. And then, of course, whenever when they wind up giving Marc back his power, and he winds up cutting the sticks and then just killing everybody in sight by throwing different shades of the stick at the people. But after that though, and then also too, you see Layla fight, and Layla can hold her own. No wonder why you actually have Khonshu wanting her to be the next Moon Knight if he wanted to take her. Because now it shows that she can fight, which makes her even stronger than Marc. So it actually makes sense on why Khonshu said that to Marc in the first place.
Well, she is his wife, so
true.
And you do also see from that opening as well, like to draw back, you do she gets to understand her we understand a little bit of her character. She knows what she wants to do and her purpose and her drive, compared to what we've seen so far between Marc and Steven. They don't know what their drive and their purpose is. No. It's like we see with Steven in the first episode. He's just wandering aimless. He's aimless. I mean, his big priority is to try to figure out why he's having sleep problems, but not being confident enough in what he wants to do in order to, like he said, be a tour guide at the museum. And we see with Marc, I think it so far it seems with Marc, he's mainly focused on serving Khonshu, and we don't know exactly what else he wants. What's his purpose? What's going to drive him? With Layla, we get from that opening scene for her being back in Cairo that she's like a person. She's fully aware of who she is, what she wants to do, and what she's willing to sacrifice or the people she cares about in order to not achieve it, but she's willing to do what she can for the people she cares about. Which is why it almost seems like because we're gonna jump. I'm jumping ahead even more when we get to Khonshu being imprisoned by the gods, and Arthur is there, once Osiris, the avatar for Osiris, leaves, he makes his open confession to Khonshu that he enjoyed every minute of being his avatar, dealing out Payne, and how Khonshu broke him apart, and that what he's about to do with Ammit, he pretty much says, I'm gonna do what you couldn't do. Pretty much shows that, well, not shows, pretty much tells me that Harrow, he misses the days of being the avatar, but because I think it does seem to me that Khonshu rejected him, that he found another avatar in order to do what Khonshu won't do. Because you said earlier, in that one with the cliff scene, when Khonshu advised Marc to put the kid over the cliff in order for him to talk, he didn't expect the kid to cut his own scarf to kill himself. So Khonshu does have certain lines that he's not going to cross, or he's not always going to dish out punishment or dish out pain because it's his thing. He has limits. He has limitations or lines he won't jump to. But it seems
he gives people
Harrow,
free will.
Yes, but it seems with Harrow, he's willing to cut out free will. He's not going to wait for people to do bad. He wants to just destroy it.
Mm-hmm. And I want to go back on something too with that rooftop scene. Instead of Marc killing the kid, he just slaps him. He just Will Smith slaps him, and that's it. Which also just goes to show you his morals. He's not going to kill a kid for any reason. So that goes. I like how they actually play the narrative into that. It gives him more of a cohesiveness with his character. But I do want to talk about now. The big thing that I'm going to talk about is my debunk theory in a minute, but also too, first we wind up seeing Khonshu. He winds up summoning all these gods into this temple. It's supposed to be 9 gods. There's only 6 of them, so that tells me that maybe they're on punishment though too, probably.
Yeah. Or some of them don't have avatars, maybe. I mean,
right. And so, I feel like that vote that they actually had should not even go against Khonshu to begin with, since there's supposed to be 9 members and there's only 6 to vote.
Yep.
But that part where Arthur winds up coming in and then just going off of all the negatives of Marc and his personality disorder and everything else makes Marc really small in this scene.
Yeah, it does.
And you feel so real. You see this tough guy character being huge, and then all of a sudden he feels so small because of what Arthur does, and no one's listening to him. And then also too, my other favorite scene in this thing too is where you actually see the shadow of where we wind up seeing of Steven, where he goes, "Oh my God, we're in the tomb of this of."
We're underneath we're inside the pyramid of Giza, yeah.
Of Giza. Can you believe it? He's just totally geeked out. And then, of course, we wind up seeing Hathor. Now, Hathor is actually translated the House of Horrors, but can also be rendered as my house is the sky, the falcon god. Horus is also represented, among other things, the sun and sky, which also means that Khonshu and her had a relationship because of the fact that he operates in the night sky, and of course she's also part of the sun and sky, which also so that actually makes sense. So that's just my little bit of knowledge that I actually did a deep dive in.
But I do like that little nugget when Marc meets the avatar of Hathor, and from what Marc, and we do see, unfortunately, and we do see Khonshu, he's kind of, because he was banished by the gods, yeah, he doesn't share anything with Marc, which, of course, I mean, why would you expect him to, except focus on trying to stop Ammit from being risen. But I like when she says that, oh, Khonshu used to have Khonshu doesn't tell you about his past with the gods. He doesn't tell you he used to love music. And you can even see the look on Steven's face where he just goes, well, I mean, like, you see like a look of, I won't say pity, but kind of like a bit of empathy a little bit, to where he almost senses Khonshu is like him, an outsider, But but it is funny how in the previous episode we see that in those last moments of episode 2, Khonshu almost threatens Marc with wanting Layla. And then we do see in this episode, Khonshu, he's no longer trying to be the intimidating driving force here. He leans on Marc in order to make a plea to case the gods. And then when Steven gets the body to make the map, I even like how Khonshu, who's been calling him nothing but a parasite and a worm, realizes that Steven has value. And it also draws Khonshu to once again make another big play that he knew was going to get him trapped. And even draws back on a memory of his, like when Steven tapes those pieces together to make a star, and they find the constellation. And when Steven says, "That was 2,000 years ago. Who remembers that night?" And then you can just hear Khonshu just like almost like fondly but sadly remembering, like, I remember every night.
Mm-hmm.
And then
right,
yeah, go ahead.
And this is going to be me debunking my theory on the constellation thing, because I thought he turned back the full time to 2,000 years to where it was in the night sky. But I'm going to go on ahead and debunk that, because number one, you would actually see de-aging within those people that were looking at the night sky. You would actually see some type of change within those people that were watching the night sky. So all he did was change the constellation in the sky. He did not go ahead and change it to 2,000 years. Because if that was the case, then all that work that they did in the other Avengers movies would just been a waste of time. But I was messaging Charlie this earlier, though, where I was like, so that means that they went back in time 2,000 years before the Avengers even faced off against Thanos. So that means that the Infinity Stones is now there now. That also means Asgard is around. I'm like, wait. And so I had to stop myself, rewatch again. I'm like, no, all he did was change the change.
He pretty much just affected. He just changed it, like you said. He just changed the constellation. Like he did say he's able to manipulate the night sky to turn it back to that night to wherever the constellation was, so they can pinpoint the tomb.
And the cool thing is,
we do see when there's turning back. Obviously, it's not an isolated thing. Everyone else is noticing, which leads him to get imprisoned. But I do like that Khonshu was willing to do that. Not only because of his convictions of not wanting Ammit free, but he was willing to do that with Steven
and sacrifice himself to save people. And also, too, if you notice in the special effects, you can see where the moons are changing. Whenever where you actually have Marc that holds out his hand, and you can actually see the moons changing to 2,000 years of half moons and stuff like that, too. Also, too, you could also say maybe the Scarab actually belongs to Layla's family because of her last name, because of how her last name is. So that's another little nod that I think that the Scarab might actually belong to her family. But that's just me speculating on that part. But, I thought the special effects for them changing it was really good. I really thought the constellation stuff really worked well. And then, of course, he ended up sacrificing his own self to save everybody. Then, of course, this is when Marc winds up being drained of his own powers to the point where he winds up passing out in the desert. Then, of course, you get that one scene, like you mentioned, with Arthur comes in. And, yeah. And then, of course, you can tell that now one of the gods is actually on Arthur's side.
I don't know if it read like that to me. It just seemed to me that because Arthur was a former Avatar and he was the witness, it just seemed to me that this god, I think the Avatar, this god was pretty much just telling Arthur, that Khonshu was going to do something that forced us to imprison him again. Because it doesn't seem to me Arthur's looking to get the gods on his side. The one he's focused on is Ammit. And depending on how powerful Ammit is, it won't even matter if the gods joined him or not. That's why it just seemed to me that him conversing with the Avatar of oh my god, I just lost it again. Osiris, I believe. Yeah, the Avatar of Osiris. it just seemed to me it was just more of an opportunity for them to bring Arthur just to give him proof that Khonshu has been dealt with.
That I didn't think about it like that, because I only thought of the fact that, maybe he was on his side because he's showing him the tomb where, Khonshu's at. So basically that's just showing his trial and showing that, hey, look, you can rest assured now Khonshu is no longer going to be a problem for you, because he's in basically prison.
Yeah, I mean, if it shows that God is aligned with him, then you were definitely right to me. It just felt to me at this third, because look what Arthur was able to accomplish without any interference from the gods. He's already established a huge following of people who are willing to sacrifice themselves and do whatever they can in Ammit's name. And he's able to use, and he's a master manipulator, master of influence. It didn't seem to me that he's already powerful enough to sway over men's minds. It doesn't even sound like he needs the gods outside of Ammit.
True. And then also too, I'm thinking, okay, so I'm gonna go into a couple of more theories though too, as well. Like, I don't trust the woman that
the Avatar?
Marc. I trust the Avatar. I just don't trust the god that's actually part of the Avatar. Because if you notice, when Arthur's going back, you can see a little bit of a crescent moonlight kind of thing going off the side of it to make it me look like that, it's like saying that she's with him in a sense. But that's just me going off the deep end a little bit. I mean, but I trust the Avatar. I just don't trust the god. And then also, too, I'm thinking that we're going to get Shadow Knight in this thing, too. I think Arthur's going to become Shadow Knight to the point where now Moon Knight and him have to face off against each other, where he winds up getting his powers back because now the gods actually see why Arthur sees Arthur for who he really is. So I'm thinking that we're going to get Shadow Knight by the end of this episode. And also, too, I'm thinking we're going to get Midnight as well.
Interesting.
I think we're going to get Midnight Man by the end of this episode. By the end of the season somewhere.
I mean, that is a very good theory, honestly. I wasn't thinking of Midnight Man. I was just thinking more, depending on the way this might go, I think Steven might embrace more of the chaos inside him to where he's willing to at least coalesce with Marc inside of the body, honestly. And then it would lead to them actually no longer. I mean, they'll still probably fight each other, but it'll lead to more instances to where Steven will be able to get more of a handle with whenever they get Khonshu back. He'll have more of a handle of using the abilities. A part of me sensing that Layla herself might become an avatar of a god at the end of this season. Other than being the avatar of Moon Knight, I did do research. Layla was an avatar of a few other gods outside of Khonshu.
I didn't know that.
I can't remember the name of the god, but she went by a different superhero code name, even other than being Moon Knight. But I'll have to look more. I'll have to find that page again. But mainly my theory so far, since we're halfway through, obviously Arthur is going to succeed in getting Ammit back. I do kind of think he will become the Shadow Knight. I do think that Layla and Marc, Steven, they're going to meet the third altar. It's going to fall into some kind of like battle royale amongst the three of them on how they're going to coexist in the body. And I think Khonshu, when Khonshu is back, Khonshu is either going to be a nuisance or someone to where Marc, Steven, and this third altar will rely on for the greater good. I mean, it's all just simple theories, but at this point, I don't want to predict to where I think the show is going to go, because so far each episode has kind of slightly changed the structure of my theory so far. So I'm guessing next week is going to do the same thing.
I wouldn't be surprised. The writing for this, to me, is really good and stuff like that. Then but yeah, I think that's a good way to actually wrap it up, to be honest. But Charlie, do you have any theories or anything like that you want to disclose? Or
No, I don't have any theories. I have no idea what's going on. Like,
okay.
I mean, anytime. No, you're good. Anytime I see Steven as Moon Knight, I'm like, he's just Dr. Manhattan, but he's not blue. Because his design, he has like the mask on. It looks like, I'm like, am I watching MCU's version of Dr. Manhattan, but instead of the giant middle and he's blue and he's tall, it's just he's wearing white, like it's just all white, and it's like, okay, it's kind of creepy looking with him in the suit. I think I like him better when he's in the fighting mode, because him in the suit when he's not Marc, he just gets his butt whooped like all the time. And I don't know, I was like, and I just keep getting Dr. Manhattan vibes so much from when Steven gets into the suit, like him wearing the suit. I'm like, that's Dr. Manhattan. He's just white.
Well, I'm just going to go back off of what Alex said last week, though, too. Basically, he's basically a brawler type, so I wouldn't be surprised if maybe Marc winds up helping train him somehow. I don't know how we would do that, but I could see him probably trying to train him, or maybe Layla trying to train him to where he can become that brawler that we know from the comics.
Yeah, well, they got to get Khonshu back soon because we only got 3 episodes left. Did they wait literally to the last episode for him to get it back? That'd be just such of a huge, like, a total dick move if they just waited to do that.
Yeah,
because you can't fight without him.
I think so too, to be honest. I'd rather see it maybe in the 5th episode, him getting him back, or by the end of the 4th episode, getting him back. This is the way I look at it. So with that being said, that's going to be everything here for our Moon Knight episode 3 review. Thank you, Ryan, so much for joining us once again, man. It's a pleasure to have you back on.
No, I do appreciate coming back on here, man. I do. Like, look, this show, so far Moon Knight, I am enjoying the journey going on here. So far, I've done, ever since all the Marvel TV, the MCU TV shows on Disney Plus, I've done mainly one thing: turn my brain off and try to enjoy the ride. Some of the shows had to make me think a little bit, but so far with Moon Knight, their handling of their depictions of Egypt, the Egyptian mythology, their handling of the dissociative identity they're doing with Marc and Steven, I'm okay with. Look, it's not like I'm thinking it's completely offensive or no. I mean, I like this idea of the storytelling narrative. Yeah, we get the unreliable narrator or just the unreliable narrative thread. It doesn't feel to me it's detracting, but I definitely understand from Charlie's point of view and from other people I've read online how it might be distracting from the story at all. Hopefully, when this whole show is out, I'll do a complete rewatch of 1 to 6 to see if it was smart doing the week by week, or maybe that Disney Plus should have just unloaded all 6 episodes, kind of like what Netflix does for their shows. But either way, this is a lot of fun. I like the theorizing. I like breaking this stuff down. It just makes rewatching the episodes even that much funner.
Same here as well. I love doing these theories. I like conversating with people that have the same kind of deepness as I do. As even if here's the thing, Charlie, I like working with Charlie and stuff like that, and of course anybody else that feels the same way that he does and stuff like that. You know, I think that people can gain something from watching something like this, though, too, to gain some knowledge and stuff, but also to see from Charlie's perspective, though, too.
It just doesn't
because
work.
there are legit people that actually do, in fact, feel the same way Charlie does. And that's why I wanted Charlie on here to have a conversation with him, but also, too, to bring out the fact that you're not alone in not feeling this way about a certain show and stuff like that either. Because here's the thing, we like the deep level of thinking. Some people don't like the deep level of thinking. Some people just like the straight angle of something, and that's perfectly fine. If that works for you, that works for you. If the deep level of thinking, which is what I like to do and stuff like that, works for me, hey, that's cool. It's also why all movies and TV shows are subjective and stuff. So, you know, I like having Charlie on for a different perspective and everything too.
Yeah, the show just doesn't work for me, and that's fine. Again, I like I like deep dives to a degree. Deep dives like for this show where you have to keep thinking like every single moment, like boom, 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 boom. That's just a little too much, and it's just like I can't.
It's like a little bit of an overload.
Exactly. And for a Marvel show where I had no idea who this is, and it's only 6 episodes, they're cramming everything into 6 episodes. I mean, I liked some of the other Marvel shows better. Yeah, there's a lot to think about in them, but you can still have a good time not having to have to watch it 10 times to pick up that one thing that you had a hard time thinking. For me, it's just like I can't rewatch this show 10 times, heck, even 2 times, because it's just like it's just not fun in a sense. I like aspects of it, but overall the show is just I'm not having a lot of fun watching it, and that's fine. It's not for me. Again, this is definitely not their typical Marvel stuff. And I think it's just a little too much information overload for me, and that's fine. I mean, that's why I think there's other Marvel shows that I like better. But yeah, I think this show just personally isn't for me, and I'm 3 episodes in. I'm like, I'll watch the rest of it, but I don't know if it'll change my mind.
Okay. With that being said, that's going to be everything for here. But Ryan, where can everybody reach you at if they want to go ahead and follow you on social media, or if you have some shows coming up they want to actually tune into?
Well, people can follow me on for social media. The ones I'm mostly active on, well, I'll say active to a degree, is Facebook and Twitter. My Twitter handle will be caramel_Payne. That's where you can find me. And regarding anything I'm doing, I have a podcast. Anybody out there watching this or listening are fans of wrestling. I have a podcast I co-host with 2 of my buddies, Brenton McPherson and James Shimo. It is called the Wrestling. It's just called Wrestling Ramblings and Rages podcast. What we mainly do is we'll talk about wrestling news subjects, or we'll use topics, or do top 10 lists, or just give our thoughts on wrestling as a whole. We have so far this year we have done our best to at least have 1 or 2 brand new episodes each month. Coming up soon, myself, James, and Brenton, we just did a bracket style of for wrestling in general. It breaks down from WCW, NWA, WWF, WWE, and with some AEW moments sprinkled in there. It was just the 3 of us pretty much going from pretty much deciding which one did we like from the best. We didn't do no polls. We didn't reach out to people. It was just the 3 of us breaking down what we thought was great wrestling moments. These episodes should be released sometime this month in April. But even then, just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Breaker, Podbean, and Anchor, and just find Wrestling Ramblings and Rages, and just listen to a couple of episodes we've done. If you enjoy it, you can just give us a follow. And we always do like to hear feedback on how we can try to improve so our episodes can be more fluid, instead of just having the 3 of us just ramble for an hour and a half or 2 hours, because that's the last thing we want to do. We want to make sure we have your attention. We want to make sure that you like what we're doing, and we want to make sure that that you even want to send us suggestions, so we know you like to be involved.
Okay. And guys, you guys can go on ahead and follow me underneath on Facebook underneath the same brand name at Movie Lovers TV Lovers Tonight over there, on Instagram and on Pinterest as well. If you want to donate to us $5 to $10 towards us, all you have to do is go to buyusacoffee.com/movie lovers, and that's how you can donate $5 to $10. That's just to keep the lights on here at Movie Lovers Unite, get some equipment or whatever. But if you don't want to, you know what you can do is smash that like button, smash that comment button, comment below, smash that bell in the bottom right hand corner to allow you guys to know when we have something new coming out. Speaking of something new, I'm actually going to be doing a Talking Stephen King segment tomorrow night, 8 o'clock Central Time, 9 o'clock Eastern Time, with my good friend Michael. So we're going to be doing some deep diving into some Stephen King stuff, talking about, of course, Salem's Lot, because there's going to be a new Salem's Lot movie coming out. So we're going to be doing that. So we're going to do that at 8 o'clock Central Time, 9 o'clock Eastern. Then if you want to, go on ahead, rate us on Good Pods. Good Pods is basically social media for podcasters, or if you're a podcaster yourself and you're like listening to podcasts, go on ahead, rate us over there, rate individual episodes, tell us what you think about those individual episodes. Like Ryan, I also like to hear feedback from you guys on how we can actually work together as a community to see how we're doing, and also to tell us what you like, what you didn't like. And then of course, rate us on Apple Podcasts and also on Spotify as well. You guys can get us on all major platforms where you guys get your podcast from. Then of course, go in and follow me underneath Movie Lovers Unit 0 on TikTok, and then Movie Lovers Unit on Twitter. Reach out to me if you're a sponsor or would like to be on the show at movieloversunite@gmail.com. And that's everywhere that you can reach me at. And always, until next time, guys, it's been fun. It's been real. Bye-bye.